Hi everyone, Roy here. Thought I'd pop in for probably my final report on Private Eye July reading. So Private Eye July, month-long event celebrating the particular type of crime story with a private investigator at the heart of it. And this is hosted by Jim, Mystery and Mayhem, and there's a crew of field agents as well, of which I'm one, helping to make it all happen. Links down below, all great channels, and there's been some really interesting videos. It's an event that came up quite quickly, so without the normal sort of lead time, and nevertheless has got a lot of interest. I think it's sort of an idea whose time has come. Personally, I found it great because I've been rediscovering a genre I really like, it turns out. So it's simply structured event, no complex challenges. There's a prompt for reading up until the end of the 60s, and there's a prompt for reading beyond 1970 to modern times. So basically a simple chopping the whole of time into two chunks. So I've been reading into the present day with some modern things. Jenny has too, actually, so at some point we'll do a catch-up video between us and she can talk about how she's getting on with the final Kinsey Malone story. But for me, as it happens, it's worked out. All my private eyes in the last sort of week or 10 days have been female. Starting with Veronica Mars. So Veronica Mars was a TV series, ran for a few seasons, and there was a TV movie as well. Then there are two novels that are like continuations by Rob Thomas, who's the creator of the show, and Jennifer Graham. They're the authors. The show starts with Veronica Mars as a teenage assistant to her dad, who is a private eye, called Keith Mars, and by this time she's a young adult and she's got a private eye license, and she's kind of operating in her own right, really. In fact, her dad's laid up, he's been injured, so she is the lead person for Mars Investigations, and it's set in the town of Neptune on the coast of California. So basically you've got classic PI fiction California noir environment. The sheriff and his department, there's a lot of corruption there, there's a lot of wealth, there's a lot of poverty, and then you get the private eye who can sort of move between those worlds. So I think Keith Mars was actually the sheriff at one point and he got booted out, so now they have the corrupt guy that everybody can control is in charge of official law enforcement, but he doesn't do very much. You got that California noir kind of thing, but also you've got a sort of millennial vibe to it as well. So if you imagine sort of classic private eye crossed with, say, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, you wouldn't be far off. Despite the name, there's no sort of supernatural elements or anything, or science fiction. It's a straight earthbound story. So yeah, California, the end of the West, the stamping ground of Philip Marlowe and Sam Spade and Lou Archer, all of that. But a modern take on it, where the wisecracking PI is now sort of speaking in kind of millennial post-Buffy speech, if you like, and routines, and that's pretty good. So there's a kind of humour bobbing it along as well. I'd say, it's a tie-in to a TV show. I'd say if you've never seen it, it'd be readable, especially if you were snowed into a log cabin and this was the only book or something. Probably better to have seen at least an episode or two just to get a sense of what the characters are like, but you don't need to have a detailed knowledge of every single thing that's happened to enjoy this book. And the story itself So seaside town, and it's spring break, right? So the town's full of drunken students, with all that brings with it, and a girl has gone missing. So the Chamber of Commerce, whose livelihood depends to some extent on significant extent on spring break and the income from said drunken teenagers, they hire Veronica Mars to help find the girl, because they know the sheriff, he has his uses, but law enforcement isn't really one of them, or at least detective work isn't really one of them. So she's on the case for that reason, which is interesting, and it gets more complicated. There's another girl goes missing. There are some party houses that seem to be connected with drug cartels in some way, and as usual, there's the sort of negotiating the corruption and the interests of different parties, and various kinds of deceit and deception. So it's great. I actually found it, probably of all the stuff I've read on this Taffy Pull, probably the best sort of deduction story I've actually read, in terms of, oh wow, twists, I saw that coming, which is satisfying. Didn't see that coming, also satisfying. So really good. Yes, Veronica Mars, great. I wish there were more than 2 books, but I've bought the next one because I'll read that at some point. So this one was called The $10,000 Tan Line. Really nice kind of private eye flavoured title. And the next one's called Mr. Kiss and Tell. Ditto. From there to The Missing American, Kwei Quartey. So here we have a detective story set in Ghana. Again, it's a private eye story. So the hero of a series, I think there's 5 of these books so far, her name is Emma Djan. She starts off working for the police, and having fought off a sexual assault by like the chief police guy, she gets the sack and joins a private investigator agency. So here, rather than having a corrupt town or a corrupt city, you've got a whole corrupt nation with all sorts of levels of corruption. So that's one thing. And you've got this young woman as a novice investigator, because the whole thing was she wanted to be a detective. And it's like, oh yeah, maybe that can happen, come to my office. And then she's fighting this guy off, and but she does end up being an investigator anyway. So there's the sort of her origin story, if you like, and then about a third of the way in we get the mystery, which is, as the title The Missing American suggests, about a guy who's gone to Ghana because he's fallen for a romance scam online. He's a widower. He believed all the stuff. He knows the country. Went there, and of course there's no woman. They've just taken his money. But a mate of his persuades him to stay. Stay as long as you'd booked. Just have a holiday and try and get to the bottom of who the scammers were, which he's been doing. And also he's disappeared. So that's the sort of core mystery. And the world of the scammers in Ghana, and apparently this is a real thing, you've got lots of young men who do this, and they're fueled by traditional magic as well as having really high-tech sort of AI and stuff like that. It's gone way beyond the Nigerian princes. We're really into like AI faces talking to people in real time and stuff like that. That's all really interesting. So yeah, that's the main mystery, and you're getting supporting cast and Emma's family and stuff like that. Pretty good. It builds to an exciting climax with a lot of jeopardy. I was kind of like, how can this possibly end in the next few pages? Perhaps not the perfect book. I sometimes the authorial voice lapses into cliche, saying things like people are dressed up to the nines or dressed to kill, which I didn't really like. And there was perhaps a few too many timelines and flashbacks going on for my taste. Got a really appealing character, fascinating African setting, and the language and the slang and stuff like that gives it a kind of, you know, really distinctive sort of atmosphere as well. So yeah, Missing American, good one. So that's my third Distaff detective. Then I read a Jessica Jones book. So Jessica Jones is a private investigator in the Marvel universe of comics, and she's had a TV show too. And she's in The Defenders, another TV show. So if you like, it's the sort of gritty corner of the Marvel universe. Being Marvel, you've got superheroes, and you know, basically there's lots of science fictional stuff in that world. Magic works in that world. You've got the mutants and all that sort of business. Now, Jessica Jones isn't really, you know, she is part of that world, but she's also very disdainful of it. She has some powers of her own, which she kind of tries to sort of ignore. It's a story with a classic PI engine, if you like. You know, she's got the office with the glass door and a terrible enthusiasm for Jack Daniels and that kind of thing. It's very downbeat. She's cynical, but not despairing. A really compelling character. I mean, we like the TV show. So I wanted to read a comic. I pretty randomly bought one of the sort of collected ones. It's great. It's called Uncaged. Being Marvel, it means there's like decades of story been going on before you jump in. Now, I'm fairly well versed in that without knowing every single sort of detail, but it didn't really faze me, and it works on its own. The case, it's almost like classic. It's got its classic feel where there's a woman, she's concerned about her husband. Is he missing? No. Is he having an affair? No. He's convinced he is actually from another universe, and that he's woken up here in the wrong universe, and he's therefore, you know, this isn't really his wife, this is not his, this, that and the other. So that's interesting, and it's sort of, the big stuff gives it a kind of True Detective first season feel of kind of like, what is this terrible huge thing that's somehow in the background of the normal sort of detective procedural. And there's another plot line too about an adversary who wants to sort of take out the superhero community, and thinks that Jessica Jones, because she's just got out of prison, seems like she hates all that, she's going to turn on them and sort of hand them all in. So I really enjoyed that. Made me want to read more. More of these comics are in our local library, so I guess I'll get them at some point. And there's been a novel with words, a text novel, I suppose you'd call it. There's been at least one, and there's a pretty recent one too by Lisa Jewell. So there's this, Marvel are doing this thing of getting like named crime writers to write in these kind of Hell's Kitchen characters at this sort of gritty downbeat end of the Marvel universe. So the Lisa Jewell one, that looks like fun as well. So I really want to read, listen to, or whatever that at some point. So I read those three. I also did read a Sarah Paretsky story, a short story about her V.I. Warshawski character, who I've never read. It's just a short story. It was great. I really liked it. Obviously, it's only a little sample of what that's all about, so I've not really got a full sense of the character. But it was a great story, and I feel sort of motivated to explore VI as well at some point. So yeah, that's it. I could happily carry on reading Private Eye stories for a long time. Equally, there's other booktube events and other projects I want to do, so return to all this at least next year. I've stashed away lots of stuff that I've bought along the way. Now, I want to read more Nero Wolfe books, certainly want to read more Sexton Blake. I've found some other things I'll tell you about in hauls or whatever as I come to them, and when we get into the whole Private Eye thing again. So yeah, that's me with that, signing off now, and back soon with something else.